Good morning, my friends. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you all had a happy Halloween. A happy real Halloween. Wow. November 1st. 11/1/2018. Holy moly. It is November. Good morning, Sam. Thinking. All right. Let's get rock and rolling here with AMX 604. Another day. Another day, another dollar. You know what I'm saying? Another day, another dollar. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's rock and roll. Boom. Boom. All right, let's do this. I'm doing well, Sam, buddy. Thank you very much. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well, my friend. I miss you over at Penn State, buddy. I've been over there a fair amount. I miss you, man. I miss your smiling face. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is AM Excellence 604. The book we're currently studying is The Good Neighbor by Maxwell King, the life and work of Fred Rogers. Highly, 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 you're going to hear me say it every day, recommend you get this book. It's a nice read. It's a relatively long read, but it is so full of nuggets and wisdom. If you're into kindness, if you're into respect, if you have kids or you will have kids or you have raised kids, this book will make you smile. I want to first talk about the strong influence on Fred's spiritual life. So he had several mentors, but two mentors, Dr. Margaret McFarland and Dr. William Orr. So there's this really neat concept that Dr. William Orr talked about, and it's called the guided drift. And this is one of the reasons that Mr. Rogers was so drawn to him, was this concept. So he was a seminary professor, so Mr. Rogers was learning about, in the seminary learning, and there's this concept of Dr. Orr's that's called the concept of the guided drift. So wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, slow down a little bit to really listen and process this. So in the guided drift, this is Dr. Orr's concept of the guided drift. Quote, one needed to live a life that was open to change and serendipity, that embraced the possibilities of life rather than the confines of a rigid set of rules. Again, one needed to live a life that was open to change and serendipity, that embraced the possibilities of life rather than the confines of a rigid set of rules. Interesting. So this comes from the idea of floating down a stream, okay? So imagine yourself floating down a stream, primarily guiding yourself along. In the book, it used the idea of using a stick or an oar to guide yourself along. So you're flowing down a nice stream, using the oar to guide yourself, primarily guiding yourself along, but also subject to a higher power. So it's like you're in this stream. Maybe the stream are your principles, okay? So maybe this stream from left to right, front to back, maybe that's comprised of your principles. But the guided drift is such that you're able to go with the flow of life within those principles and embrace being open to change and serendipity, embrace the possibilities of life rather than the confines of a rigid set of rules. The author goes on to say, quote, we are guided by our principles, but are also free to embrace the flow of life. Isn't that a neat idea? Flowing down the river. Actually, I just felt like Mr. Rogers when I said that. Isn't that a neat idea? Flowing down the stream, right? The stream of your principles, guided by a higher power, but you're free to embrace the flow of that stream and the flow of that life. Quote, we're guided by our principles, but are also free to embrace the flow of life. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm trying to conceptualize and visualize in my mind what this looks like. I'm imagining standing on a wooden raft, and I'm going down, and my principles are around me, but I'm able to go to the left and the right. But ultimately, I'm not moving me. Ultimately, the stream is moving me. The universe is moving me. If you're Native American or believe in the Native American mindset, the Great Spirit is guiding you along. And it reminds me of this idea of discipline, not rigid, from the dichotomy of leadership. Remember that we want to be disciplined in that we know our principles, we know our purpose, we know our mission, we know what we need to do and we do it, but not so rigid to the fact that we're robots. You remember the analogy that I used talking about, or they used in the book, Dichotomy of Leadership? When you call someone and they're not speaking as a human, they're speaking as a robot, they're rigid. They're disciplined and rigid. We want to be disciplined, not rigid. And it also reminds me of Vince Lombardi's coaching style. Simplicity, simple, variation, 4 set plays. These are the set plays. These are our principles. But within those 4 set plays, we're able to run these plays 20 different ways. We're able to embrace our opposition, the flow of life, the stream of life, the higher power, our opponents, our competition, the other team, such that we can move in these 20 different directions. But I thought that was really neat. Guided drift. Do yourself a favor, do a quick Google of Dr. William Orr guided drift. Moving on. So this is why, one of the reasons that Mr. Rogers connected with Dr. Orr. And I thought this was really neat because this is, I'm breaking the fourth wall here. AMX is wisdom. It's wisdom that we get from books. It teaches us how to live better, how to live the most, to get the most out of ourselves. But it's also something that I'm really passionate about building. And Dred and I put a lot of time and effort and energy in our lives into building, such that it can reach the most people, make the biggest impact, and we can make learning a real part of our society, that people dedicate time, rather than saying, I don't have time to read, I don't have time for AMX, that they make time for it, that they prioritize and execute. So this is what I aim for. And this is Fred Rogers speaking on about Dr. William Orr, his professor with whom he wanted to spend as much time as possible. He said this, quote, "You know how when you find somebody who you know is in touch with the truth, you want to be in the presence of that person?" That's it. All this talking, all this behind the scenes talking with Dred and I that you all don't hear, that we spoke for an hour last night on my way home figuring stuff out, that's to find the truth. This idea of the truth, trying to explain to people why we believe in AMX so much. And there's a dedicated few of you who listen every day right now, why you believe in it so much. Dred and I believe it's the truth. Not that I, the Spaniard, am the truth. Not that Dred is the truth, but it is the truth. Lifelong learning is the truth. The pursuit of wisdom is the truth. This is a guiding principle of mine, to show the truth. To show the truth, the absolute truth, the truth of being, and present it to you, and create this love of aspiring to find that truth, and expounding and bringing it outward or taking it outward in your own lives. You know how? When you find somebody who you know is in touch with the truth, you want to be in the presence of that person. So find your truth speakers. I sure as shiz hope it's the Spaniard and AMX, but find your truth speakers and be around those people. And at this time, and at this point in the book, we're probably in the 60s, 70s-ish. But there was great development in early childhood, right? Early childhood education. There was a lot of learning about the learning of young children. So Dr. Spock, who's another one of Mrs. Rogers' influences, he and Rogers and Dr. Margaret McFarlane, they were learning about this, and they believed, listen to this, they believed, this goes back to the nature doesn't favor something for nothing. They believed, quote, young parents had all the tools to help their children, that engaging with children deeply was more important than incessantly correcting them. Engaging with children deeply, putting in the time. This reminded me of reading Mike Ritland's book, Team Dog. I always feel funny comparing people to training dogs, but it's true. One of the things he stresses in that book, Team Dog, that the principles apply to people, is spending time with your dogs. You can't fast track it. You can't delegate your work while you're training your dogs. You can't delegate your work with your children. That engaging with children deeply, that means getting on the ground, that means talking, that means laughing, that means holding, that means reading, that means all of this, learning, trying, doing, exercising, living. Deeply engaging was more important than incessantly correcting them. Dr. Spock encouraged parents, quote, to have the confidence to be flexible and responsive with children. I feel like this all flows back to that idea of the guided drift. Disciplined, not rigid, simple, but having a variety of ways to run those simple plays a la Vince Lombardi. This has been AMX 604. I hope you got some nuggets of wisdom. I sure did. Be sure to follow us on social media at Charlie Spaniard. Subscribe, Spaniard Show. See ya. You know, Dred, I woke up. You know, I signed on. Here's a little bit of truth. Here's a little bit of truth speaking. I signed on. It was just me and Sam. I thought, well, no one else is here. I'm going to get started. I'm going to bulldoze right through it. Gracie's going to be waking up soon. I always close this before Gracie's going to be waking up soon, and I'm going to rock and roll. So sorry if you missed a little bit of it. But enjoy your guided drift, my friends. It's a really neat concept. Yeah, so that's that. I'll see you all tomorrow for AMX 605. See ya.